USA. Welcome to POWELLful Couple Journey, where we talk about J1 teacher journeys and our J1 waiver updates. So, this will be our Sunday story time, and I would like to share to you how I was able to come here in the US as a J1 teacher and have a successful story when it comes to getting my waiver to green card. I was a teacher way back in 2019 here in Florida, and I got my visa through an agency from the Philippines, and I paid a lot for them, and it's a self placement. It's not easy to deal with that one because the time and waiting for them to do the process makes you very anxious, but once you get your PLI, which is PI, which is the principal interview, then you will be thankful because you could really tell that there is a light at the end of the tunnel with all the processing, and that means somebody is very interested with you to teach here in the US. Way back in June 12, 2019, that's Independence Day in the Philippines, I got my interview and got my J1 offer. So once you got your job offer from the principal, that only means to say that they like you and you have a great potential as an addition to their team as a teacher. So I grabbed the chance, even though it's in Florida, since they said that Florida has the same weather as the Philippines and I don't have to adjust anymore. So I grabbed that, even though some of my friends are hired in New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and some western states. So I'm all alone here in Florida. But then I was thinking this is the only principal interview I have as a J1 teacher. So I'm going to grab this chance. That way I'll be able to teach in the US. And if ever given a chance to teach somewhere else, I can do that one. So during the time, I took the offer, I signed the offer, and it's time for me to do the visa embassy, which is I have to pay them. My visa sponsor during the time is CICD, which is in tracks right now. They are very particular when it comes to your visa, and they would really tell you that you are subject to 2-year home residency requirement, and that means to say, after the contract, you have to go back to the Philippines. I know that for a fact. And I came here in the US, having all those processes with the visa interview in Manila. I even have a hotel that we have to stay, which is very close to the Philippine embassy. US embassy. That way, I'm just gonna do like a walking distance. And in order for me to have less money to pay, I have to split my bills with my friends, which they got offers in Colorado during that time. So again, I'm solo flight in Florida, but I still grabbed the chance because I was thinking this is my way of achieving my dreams to come here in the US. So visa interview time, we got there early enough. We dressed nicely. We have our passports. We have our DS 2019, which is very important. And we have the pamphlet. We sat there, we waited for our turn. And during the time, they said that you gotta have to act smart, smile. And even though there's a lot of people doing the line as well for you to be on the visa interview, you just have to know about the amount of money that is spent, um, what are the things that you're going to do in the US, what are the grade levels, and prior to that, the US embassy already know your purpose. So the thing that you have to show up there is for you to really let them know the purpose of why you have to go to the US. And during my time, I was nervous and I have like an ear infection. So I can't hear so much, especially with all the crowd. They have like different families there and doing their visa, and it's like too much. So the moment that I have the immigration officer ask me the purpose of me coming to the US, I was able to answer it correctly, which I had the DS 2019 and I showed it to him with my passport. And he says, okay, I already see this one. And then he returned it to me. I was so nervous during the time because they said once they return something to you, that means it's a negative one. But it's kind of like okay in my part. So the thing that really throws me off is when he asked me like, what are the grade levels you have to teach. I didn't hear it quite properly because I have an ear infection and it's really hurting my ear with all the noise. So I was scrambling my answer and I was like so fast in talking. I even told him that, oh, I'm gonna have to teach, I have to teach third grade and the place will be blah 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 blah. And then he stopped me for a while and he says, I don't like that answer, you answer so quickly. Oh my gosh, my heart would like to jump out of my chest. Then my friend who is beside me having their interview as well, they landed in a very good immigration officer. And then they were looking at me like I'm kind of like nervous now. So they were like thinking about me and they said like in a prayer that so they said at the back of their mind saying, oh my gosh, Emery could have answered properly. Please, Lord, give her a visa approved. So after I answered everything, I was able to stay calm and the immigration officer saw my letter and my intent as well as my passport and then he says, okay, just come back after a week and we're going to release you your visa. They never say you're approved. So I'm like, what was that? Is it a yes? Then the moment my friend stepped back because they already got visa approved, they asked me, Emery, are you okay? I said, yes. I didn't know if I answered correctly. They said, yes, I know because we heard that the visa immigration officer stopped you for a while with your answer. I'm like, I know. I'm so afraid. And they said, well, where's your passport? I said, he didn't return me my passport. He says he'll just get it after a week. And they said, congratulations. That means it's visa approved. Oh my gosh. It's like, I'm so happy during the time because here's the thing. It's one time, big time shot. The reason for that is we are already asked to resign with a division, which is the Department of Education in our small hometown in the Philippines, and there's no turning back. So if I missed that and I was not approved with my visa, I might have to go back to my place and I have to do again a lot of um, papers, and I don't have enough money for that. So this is the time for me to really step up and I'm so thankful to God that I was able to get that. I was able to get my visa approved, and after a week of processing we have to go to get our passport with a visa stamp that is you are a J1 teacher and it's placed there with 212E rule home residency requirement. And I was thinking during that time, okay, as long as I could step into the mainland in the US, and I'm good. So we have our PDOS, that's the Philippine Departure Orientation Seminar, something like that. They call it PDOS in the Philippines. And I wasn't able to finish the PDOS. They just allow me to just do the half of the seminar because they know that my plane ticket already is during that time that I had to fly. So I flew first, and my friends, which is heading to Colorado, flew a day after. So you see, it's all jammed and cramped in one day. But I was able to handle it properly. It's my first solo international flight. And I'm so scared, but I'm just looking at every passenger. What are they doing? And that's my way of telling myself, hello, everyone, for those who are watching. I'm just telling myself that I can do this one. I can do this one. I mean, they might have different flights here, but then if they feel so calm, I might do it the same. So I just follow their lead. And sometimes if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just asking some of the officers or the people in the airport saying, hey, can I load my bag? Or what's the next stop? This is my plane ticket. What do you think is this? So I don't ask for any strangers, but once I see the name tag, like the badge, that's where I ask. Then the moment my flight was from Manila, that's Naiya 3 airport, I believe. And then I went to Taipei. That's the first stop. Taipei, which is Taiwan. Taiwan to San Francisco, California. The moment I had my stop to San Francisco, California, yeah, go ahead with your question. Um, so the officer right there were thinking like, what is this girl doing? She's like pressing buttons. I really thought that you have to press buttons there to show that you have luggage or things like that. And then, but I know some of them are looking like Filipinos like me. And but I do not want to speak in our language because I'm like, I'm already here in the US, I should speak English. And I don't feel like confident to speak to them. So it's like 5 minutes that I've been pressing, and I said to myself, you know what, Lord? But I keep it to myself. At the back of my mind, I was saying, you know what, Lord, I really have to ask. So I went to one of the officer with the name badge, with a name tag, and then, hello for those who are watching. So this is a story time that I have to share the experience I have as a J1 teacher landing here in the US all the way to J1 waivers. If you would like to stick with me, I'm going to share it to you. So the moment I have the name badge, looking at it, I said, oh, okay, I can ask this. I think the last name is like Flores. That's the last name. I know he's a Filipino, so I just waited to ask for his assistance, and I asked him like, sir, do I really have to press buttons here? Because I already here in the US, my first time, but my luggage is still somewhere and I don't know where to get it. And he says, oh, are you new? And is this your first time? I said, yes. Oh my gosh. The people behind him, they were also like giggling because they said, oh my gosh, there's another one, there's another victim. It means to say that a lot of first timers thought that you really have to press buttons there, but it's a different thing. It's like a state to state things they do there in San Francisco, um, California. That is SFO. So yes, ma'am, I'm Bisaya too, from Negros Oriental. And thank you for the first like. I appreciate you. So for those that are wanting to know, after that, so I asked the officer like, what am I supposed to do? Should I go somewhere? And he says, oh yeah, you need to go to gate 5, something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much. But then the moment I have all their instructions, I sat there. So from San Francisco to Fort Lauderdale, and that's my first stop in Florida. And it's a roller coaster ride. I was able to ask my principal's son to answer me for all the questions I have, and I was able to really land on the apartment because that's where the apartment has to have. Yes, I'm a Filipina, and thank you for being here. And yeah, now let's go to how I was able. Before I answer about filling out I-130, I would like to let you know that as a J1 teacher, you really have to make sure all your files are intact. If you have your TOR with you, if you have your birth certificates, put them all together. And I have to really secure all my files properly. Then it's a roller coaster ride from South Florida to Central Florida, and I was able to teach both in Central and South Florida. Now I am here in Central Florida, flourishing with my US citizen spouse. That's why I have the chance to speak with you and help you with your J1 waiver process. And I know for those that would like to submit their Form I-130, that is for petition for alien relative, which means you are the relative, the alien relative of your spouse. So this is separate, okay? This is separate with your waiver. Come to think of it, if only we don't have the 212E rule, you don't have to do the waiver. All you need to do is to get your Form I-130 online. It's better to do it online. All you need to do is like forms like birth certificates, passport, marriage license, pictures, pay stubs. Those are the one of the most important stuff that you have to prepare. But because we have the 2-year home residency requirement, that's why we need to submit the waiver. Without the waiver, even though you get approved with your petition, you still have to go back to the Philippines and fulfill the 2 years, whether you like it or not, because that is the law. And we already been told, that's why I said in the first part of this video, that we already been told that we are subject to the 2-year home residency requirement. We have to fulfill that. Now, the question of one of our friends here says, we are filing in the I-130 form online and we want to submit online. So my question is, when you fill online and upload all the documents needed after filing, do you have to download it first and sign? Um, this question is very good. So as far as I could remember, we answer everything online. We submit it online. You can do this. You can submit your papers, upload it. Okay, you can upload all your papers, and then if you would like to sign, and this is what we did, we printed it, because I think either way, either or, there is like an electronic signature. If there's none there, so this is what you can do. You can print all your form I-130. Then after you print that, remember you have the form I-130A, that is the supplemental, and you can either do it online or you can do it through paper filing. So what you're gonna do is, which it I did it on my own in year 2021. We print the form I-130, because if there's no electronic signature, just print that one, sign it, then file your form I-130, put a cover letter, and then put a cover letter for your form I-130, and put them all together in one yellow, like this. Put them all together in one yellow envelope. Put their form I-130 or form I-130A, put them all together, and then put the letter that you already had it online. That way, the USCIS officer could really tell that there's a signature. And remember, this is in the year 2021. If in the year 2024 they already have an electronic signature, then you don't need to do a paper filing. But if you are compelled to do a paper filing because of the signature is needed, then you can do that. Print the forms, then aside from the uploads you have, signature, put it in a yellow envelope, put a form I-130 and form I-130A, put all your files together, submit it to the USCIS, and the address is already in the instructions of the form I-130 slash form I-130A. You can separate the form I-130 and form I-130A. It's really up to you. But the bottom line is, if there's no electronic signature in the online filing, then you can print and submit through paper. So you have to be strategic when it comes to your petition, because you can do it on your own. It's simple. The only problem is if there's like a problem when it comes to the internet or something like that, it's much better to have a backup. So every single time, if we do a paper filing, I also have to make sure that I submitted something like in the mail. It's not hard to do and it's not expensive either. So just do it if it's convenient to you and you feel like you need to do it. And remember, I am from Florida. You might be in a different state, so that's the thing. Um, so I have J1 Waiver Helping Hands group that is asking a lot of questions, and we are already 3,400 in that group, and we are growing in numbers. I started the group in August 13, 2023, the moment I had my favorable recommendation with my J1 waiver. So that is very important, because the DS 3035 favorable recommendation from the Department of State is needed for the USCIS to move forward and give a decision to your Form I-130 Form I-612 rather, for your waiver. Remember, the USCIS will be the determining department if they will give you the approval. Even though you have a favorable recommendation with the Department of State, you still have to wait for the USCIS to give you the approval notice for your Form I-130 before you're going to be approved with your adjustment of status, which is the Form I-485. So again, the Form I-130 is separate, even though that is also true for those who are married to their US citizen spouse. Because we know some J1 teachers, especially from the Philippines, they have an approved DS 3035, which is their favorable recommendation, but then they're not married because their grounds is the US citizen child, which means they have to find an employer for them to start with the process to get an H-1B visa, which is a dual intent to give them a work permit and to give them the chance to become a legal permanent resident here in the US. So you see the complications when it comes to that. That's why if you are married to your US citizen spouse, consider that as a blessing because they were giving you a chance to stay here in the US, but there's no guarantee because of our 2-year home residency requirement. And we all know it's so hard to get that, especially from the Philippines because of the NOS. The no objection statement is no longer given priority or is not automatic for those who are married to their US citizen spouse or having their US citizen child. So it's really hard to do that. But again, if you know the scenario, excuse me, if you know how to start with your, I'm sorry, I got almonds earlier, so it's kind of like tingling my throat. And it's you have to start with strategies. You and your husband or your spouse has to sit together. Now, here's the thing. I know in our J1 Waiver group, J1 Waiver Helping Hands group on Facebook, some of you are having partners like male to male marriages. I cannot vouch on that one, but I know one friend of mine submitted a persecution waiver. um, his evidences are the moment he posted something on Facebook, there's a lot of negativities on the posts. So he took screenshots for that and he put us in evidence as saying we are persecuted because we got married like a male to male, especially that I'm from the Philippines and Philippines is like 90% Catholic, and we feel that we are persecuted with their words, with their actions, with their comments. So that right there is one of his evidences. Now, when it comes to the processes, I know for a fact that some of you has ideas already on how to do this one, okay? So first things first is Form I-130. Put that one in mind. That's a petition. That's separate with your waiver. So the Form I-130 should be done first because based on our experience, it took us almost 2 years to get approved. And you cannot adjust status unless you have your Form I-130 and your Form I-485 form submitted. So Form I-130 first. The next thing you have to do is either to submit the Form I-612 or the DS-35, or you can do it simultaneously. The reason for that is the Form I-612 is the same, almost the same with the DS-335. The only difference is the Form I-612, which is the foreign waiver, has to be submitted to the USCIS, while the DS-335 has to be submitted to the Department of State. So what are the instructions? Everything is online already, and just go to their website because they have instructions on what to do. Follow the steps, especially that all the information is unique to you. I cannot give you any information. It's really up to you. Read every details, and you'll not be wrong if you follow the instructions. And the other thing too is once you submit all those, you have to wait like maybe 3 weeks. You can submit your um, Form I-485, your work permit, which is the Form I-765, your travel document, which is a Form I-131. Each forms has separate payments, especially if you can do it yourself. Now, here's the thing. At what year is advisable based on the lawyer's perspective? Because I've heard a lot of immigration lawyers, Filipino immigration lawyers, are saying this. You can do this on your second year as a J1 teacher or on your fourth year as a J1 teacher. Why? Because in your second year as a J1 teacher, you already established that you are a J1 teacher already taught 1 year, which means your attention here is to really teach and not to get any into relationships. So that right there, you already remove that in the mind of the USCIS officer reading your paper. Aside from the second year, you have the contract already that says 3 years in your DS 2019. And like what I've said, your waiver will have to wait in the process 1 to 2 years. So which means on your third year, going to fourth year, even though your visa sponsor will not extend you because they knew that you got married, or some people told your visa sponsor that you got married, then even though they won't extend you, you're good to go because you already have submitted all your papers, you have your work permit, and you have your adjustment of status already in the process. Now, how about on your third year? I submitted in my third year. I would not recommend that because it's nail biting. If ever your visa sponsor knew that you have filed for a J1 waiver, they might cut you off with the visa that you have, and you are no longer in status. Now, listen to this. I asked lawyers. I don't have my own immigration lawyer, but I asked lawyers about this one through phone calls, through consultation. They said it's not good in the eyes of the USCIS or or your Department of State officer if you are out of status, even though they're gonna say that since you're married to a US citizen, you are good and you can overstay. It's not. I'm telling you. There's a lot of J1 teachers, even though they have their own child, they were told in the paper, go back home. You have to fulfill the 2-year home residency requirement. So if I were you, you have to act wisely, be strategic, submit in your second year and in your fourth year once you have your extension. Now, why is that so? On your first year, again, don't do that. You need to start building your commingling, which means you have to have your bank account statement, joint bank account. You have to have you need to do your filing of your taxes jointly. That way they can see that you are really putting all your finances together. And that's one way of showing the USCIS officer and the Department of State officer that you are real in your relationship, because we know whether we like it or not, some people are just using some Americans to get married, and after that they're going to get divorced as long as they can get their green card, which is so bad. And we don't want to be bad examples. We want to be good examples to our fellow J1 teachers or J1 visa holders alike that would like to get their J1 waiver. Now, here's the thing. You need to be strategic, especially if you are a Filipino, because the NOS is no longer given right away. It has to be a humanitarian reason, and we don't know what type of humanitarian reason they are asking. So far, they said there's only 4 people that got the NOS starting in the year 2021 after they revised the um, EVP committee when it comes to the no objection statement. So again, most people right now, J1 teachers are doing their J1 waiver through exceptional hardship. Why would we say exceptional? It's because exceptional means extreme, beyond the usual hardship. So, what are the factors you have to consider? Number one, you have grounds for a waiver. Let's just say exceptional hardship. Whether you got married to your US citizen spouse, check, or you have a US citizen child with a little bit of medical condition, possibly, check. What are your compelling arguments? Financial, emotional, physical, mental, psychological, language barrier, politics, poverty, crime, you name it, safety, everything that you can put that is unique to your experience. That way, you will not get any RFEs. Requests for evidences are very hard because you have to show the USCIS within 60 to 90 days. You have to come up with a very compelling, strong case that you have to submit to them. That way, they will approve your waiver. And it happened to us. It happened to my Form I-612. It happened to my Form I-485. It happened to my Form I-130. With my Form I-130, I have to go to Jacksonville, Florida to do the interview, one-on-one interview. But because my husband and I are preparing ourselves very well, we have all documents. We even have the will of my husband that is put in my name. So the moment that the immigration officer looked at the paper, she said, I don't have any reason to not grant you your petition. So that right there overwhelmed the immigration officer or the USCIS officer with your papers. The reason for that is always put it in your brain. They are not your friend. The USCIS officer and the Department of State officer, adjudicating officer, is not your friend. So act like a lawyer, especially if you are doing this on your own. But if you have a lawyer, follow the instructions of your lawyer. But if you feel like your lawyer is not helping you one-on-one, or you cannot avail their services right away, there's a red flag. I would really tell you, find a group that could help you a little bit through their experience. Just like J1 Waiver Helping Hands group on Facebook, just agree to group rules and you will be accepted immediately. The reason for that is they have good immigration lawyers that are there who are helping them one-on-one. And we even have one J1 teacher who is very inspiring. She got a lawyer and she is now a green card holder based on the extreme hardship. When that's from J1 waiver to green card. And you see, once after you surpass the 2 years of getting married, your green card will be 10 years. That's good for 10 years. And if you're married to your US citizen spouse, after 3 years, you can get your citizenship because you got married. So that is the perks of having your US citizen spouse, aside from having a life that you want here in the US. Who would like to go back to our home country if we feel like this is a country that could help us with our lives better and our family, right? We wanted to have a vacation in the Philippines, of course, but the exchange rate, think of that. We don't have to be um, uh, hypocrite in some sort of stuff. We know for a fact that we want here in the US because of family reasons, because of the life that this great country is giving to us. That's why we are so into getting our waivers. And I know there's a lot of questions here. If you would like to go to J1 Waiver Helping Hands group, go, and there are 4 categories there for chats. You can chat, and I know these J1 teachers are very good. They don't want to tell anybody. They want your um, uh, peace of mind. They want your security. They don't want to tell anybody because they know that you're looking for the right answers. You're looking for people who have the same situation as you because the agony of waiting to get your J1 waiver is a lot. And every day during the time, I keep on praying every single day, every single night with my husband to give me my waiver. because I told myself, Lord, once I get my J1 waiver, it's really my time to share my ideas to my fellow J1 teachers and other J1 visa holders from the Philippines on how I get my J1 waiver through do it yourself process. So this platform, this um, YouTube channel, Powerful Couple Journey, I hope you share, like, subscribe. That way, a lot of people will also know about our journey on how we get from J1 teacher, J1 waiver to getting a green card. And you know what's the most impactful thing? If you can get your citizenship, because that right there, you can set in stone that the hurdles that you have had before is worth it. So again, do not forget J1 Waiver Helping Hands group in Facebook. Join, agree to group rules, and ask your admin. I will accept you immediately. And then look at the featured posts, because the featured post is where you could see my timeline and you would know, based on my experience, of what are the things that I have overcome from Form I-130, Form I-612, Form I-485, Form I-765, Form I-131, and other forms that you have to submit, like medical and the tax forms. It's a lot. It's a lot. But then think of this: you are not alone. We are here to help you. If you have an immigration lawyer, that's very good. Follow them. But if you feel like they're not helping you, reach out. You always have to reach out, because we might not know there are more lawyers that are willing to help you, not just taking your money. And we know lawyers are very expensive. That's why we have this channel to open up doors of opportunities and doors to answer some of your questions based on our experience. And it's better to have a person that has an experience already with the same situation, because they can tell you, and you can tell by heart that they are really telling the truth. And you can tell them based on how easy it is to share, how grateful they are to share, because they know the agony of waiting. And I know some J1 teachers right now on my computer. I'm looking at my computer. They are asking J1 teachers based on the US citizen child waiver, what are the things they have to know? J1 teachers based on persecution waiver, what are the things they want to know? J1 teachers based on US citizen marriage, what are the things they have to know? J1 teachers asking, or J1 visa holders asking for a no objection statement based on their home country. What are the things they have to know? So those are the chat groups that we have, offering their free time, sharing to you their ideas. And some of them are saying, oh, can I private message you? And that's good, because that platform right there is showing to you that they have had J1 River Helping Hands group, and they were able to connect to another person that has the same situation as them, and you feel relieved. I even have one J1 teacher who says, Miss Emmary, do you have any idea about J1 teachers who have experienced like military husbands, and what are their processes? I said, I cannot share that to you because they want it private. But then that J1 teacher showed up, speak up, share her experience in the group, and then they connect. See? So it's really nice to have a group where you know that you are heard of, and there are people that like to share. It's nice to share your ideas, because at the end of the day, you don't want any money from them. You just want to share your ideas, and it's your way of telling to the Lord, Lord, I've given a good um, way of sharing my ideas, my time to this person. So it's not just all about money, it's about your time, your experiences that you can share to other people. Because let's face it, getting a J1 waiver is not easy. I even have some J1 teachers who have told me they spent, get this, $21,000 just to file their form I-130 all the way to get their waiver, and until now they don't get it. And they were even told that you have to go back to the Philippines and fulfill that one. See how I cannot say the word, but it's like It's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and it's so frustrating to the side of the J1 teacher that they are hoping to get their waiver and being with their spouse, and now they are forced to go back. Well, it's not really the word force, it's like they are mandated to go back because they know that they have the 2-year home residency requirement. So now I'm here in Central Florida, flourishing, helping J1 teachers. And by the way, I'm no longer teaching. I'm not a teacher anymore. There are stress that I have overcome as a J1 teacher. I even have lots of acne marks in my face during the time, and they're so big. And my husband point out that I have a stress. I have lots of stress and anxiety in teaching that I cannot stand. So I prayed to the Lord and I said in my prayer that if ever I'll get my work permit and green card, I will really find ways, even though my pay is not that much, but the stress is all gone. And now I'm working in a state department here in Central Florida, and I'm so happy because I could work in a way that there's not a lot of stress. The money is there. We have a house already, we have cars, we have savings in the bank, and I'm helping my family in the Philippines. We even have a small farm in the Philippines that we are thriving. So I'm good. And now we are really praying to have our own first child. And it's so nice because God is putting us in a situation where we can do it. We can do it. And we don't have to think of any problems anymore because we are settled. We are settled, and I'm here in the US. So as much as possible, I wanted to share my ideas to you. There are questions here in this group. And again, I will always mention the J1 Waiver Helping Hands group. Agree to group rules and you will be accepted immediately in Facebook because we have chat groups there that is willing to help you guys, willing to share their ideas. And I also have my website, powerfulcouplejourney.com, where I put my templates there. It's not to force you, but it's to give you ideas that there's a template. And the money, the proceeds that I'm getting is I'm giving it to the mountain pastors. And I'm so happy because I'm doing it at the end of the month. And there are already 3 or 4 um,